यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यमुनातीरवनचारी यमुनातीरवनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यमुनातीरवनचारी यमुनातीरवनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय प्रभुपद जय प्रभुपद प्रभुपद जय प्रभुपद श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Hare Krishna. We are reading from Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 14, entitled Disappearance of Lord Krishna, text 12. First, we'll just read the words of this verse so that it will be easy to recite. Śivā एषा udyantam ādityam abhi rauti, anala, ānanā, mam, aṅga, sārameyaḥ, ayam, abhirebhati, abhīruvat. śivaiṣodyantam ādityam, abhirauty analānanā, mam aṅga sārameyo abhirebhati abhiruvat. śivaiṣodyantam ādityam, abhirauty analānanā, mam aṅga sārameyo abhirebhati abhiruvat. śivaiṣodyantam ādityam, abhirauty analānanā, mam aṅga sārameyo abhirebhati abhiruvat. śivaiṣodyantam ādityam, śivaiṣodyantam ādityam, abhirauty analānanā, mam aṅga sārameyo abhirebhati abhiruvat. Mataji. śivaiṣodyantam ādityam, abhirauty analānanā, mam aṅga sārameyo abhirebhati abhiruvat. śivaiṣodyantam ādityam, abhirauty analānanā, mam aṅga sārameyo abhirebhati abhiruvat. śivaiṣodyantam ādityam, abhirauty analānanā, mam aṅga sārameyo abhirebhati abhiruvat. Word to word meaning. Okay, translation and purport. Translation. Just see, O Bhīma, how the sea jackal cries at the rising sun and vomits fire, and how the dog barks at me fearlessly. Purport. These are some bad omens indicating something undesirable in the near future. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om ajnanatimirandasya jnananjana shalakaya chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai Sri Guruve Namah. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurum Vaishnavamcha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanvitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshtarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So, we are reading from this first canto, chapter 14, text 12. And so purport is just one line purport, but and I had many verses, purport is not there. So basically this verse or this particular section there is description about the bad omens. So we'll try to discuss something about omens actually. So so what are these omens actually? So here Yudhishthira Maharaj, when Arjuna has gone to Dwarka and he has not returned back for almost 7 months. So usually Arjuna would visit Dwarka, and it was quite a regular affair to meet Krishna, to interact and come back. And he would come early, but this time he has not come for 7 months. And here he is seeing some omens, bad omens. So basically these omens, there are good omens, there are bad omens. Good omens, they indicate something good is coming in future, and bad omens, they indicate something bad is coming. Just as in this purport, Prabhupada writes, these are some bad omens indicating something undesirable in near future. So these bad omens, they indicate that something bad is going to come, undesirable is going to come in near future. So there are 3 places from where these omens can come or can be observed. One is in our own body, then from other living entities or beings, from the expression of other living beings, and from material nature. Now in this particular verse, it is mentioned that sea jackal is crying at the rising sun and also emits fire. And second one is dog barks at me fearlessly. So it is very interesting actually. Many of us, we have heard jackals, at least we have heard in lectures, I think Maharaj, he says about the crying of jackal, especially in Mayapur. They howl or cry in the night. So here it is mentioned that they were crying at the rising sun. So usually this is unusual. Crying at night is usual, so that is not unusual. But when they cry or howl at the rising sun, that is unusual, and that is considered bad omen. And dog barking at me fearlessly. So many times when we go out or in new places or villages, when we go for book distribution, when we see dog, we are very fearful because, And when they don't bark, we are peaceful. And sometimes even if they don't bark, they suddenly come and catch our leg or dhoti, like that. And such incidences happen in bus parties especially. So this dog barking is not unusual, but when dogs, they bark at, here specifically, Yudhishthir, he is a king and he is saying they are barking at me. The dogs are barking at a master. So this is something unusual. Dogs, they usually don't bark at the master or kings. And in Kali Yuga, especially all of us, it is all confusing, or everything is inauspicious, and it is very difficult, as yesterday also Prabhuji was mentioning, Jivdaya Prabhu, that our body or other living beings, they are all always disturbed, they have some or the other problem, and that way it is difficult to identify actual omen as such, as a bad omen. So it is very difficult. So this is about bad omen, 3 places we can observe. And Srila Prabhupada, interestingly, in many places he mentions about this jackal. So very famous story about this jackal. Once this jackal was trying to catch prey in the jungle, but somehow it falls into the washerman's dye, and the color of that dye was blue. And when he comes out, and he himself was very much surprised. But then when he enters into jungle, many animals, they think, oh, some new animal has come. And they start respecting him, they start giving him special treatment. And in the night, as usual, when other jackals, they start howling or crying in the night, then this jackal, he also naturally starts howling or crying. And then other animals, they think, oh, he is not some special, he is just jackal. And that's how he was exposed. So Prabhupada gives this analogy. Similarly, many big philosophers, scholars, they present their philosophies, they try to be very intelligent, but Prabhupada says they don't know the basic truths of life. They don't know about the soul, they don't know about the life after death. They are not sure about their future. So that way Prabhupada mentions they are just like jackals. And on one other occasion, a devotee, he approached Srila Prabhupada, and he was Prabhupada had given him some service, and he was giving him excuses as to how service is not possible, it is little difficult. And then Prabhupada mentions about the story of a jackal. He says, jackal, he was trying to get the grapes, and they were at little more height, and he tried many times, but he could not get. And then he said, oh, these grapes are sour. These grapes are sour. Pronunciation is right? Sour. Okay. These grapes are sour. So Prabhupada, he mentions about this when a devotee approached and he was giving excuses as to how service cannot be done. And in Chaitanya Charitamrita also, this mention of jackal is there. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, I think he says, Bhihu Bhihu Kari. What is that? This. So Sregal is jackal, I think. So there also he mentions, and Prabhupada mentions that these logicians, they are creating their own philosophies, big philosophies, and they are howling or crying like jackals. And but they have very dark future, and maybe they will become jackals in the next life. So this is about the mention of Srila Prabhupada about these jackals. So in Bhagavatam also, many different places, this about the bad omens, it is mentioned. in Srimad Bhagavatam in different places. So first is, not first, but in different places. So when Jai Vijay, they were cursed by Kumaras, and when they entered the womb of Mother Diti, that time also these bad omens, they were observed, and they are mentioned there also. Then when Krishna, he entered from Vrindavan, he entered to Mathura and he broke this Sivadhanusha, that arrow when he broke, that time also, Kamsa, he saw a bad omen, and in dream he saw himself, Kamsa, he saw himself without his head. Then another occasion where these bad omens are mentioned is about Daksha. He observed these bad omens. When Daksha, out of pride, he did not invite Shiva and Parvati or Sati for the sacrifice which he was performing. That time he did not invite Shiva out of pride. And Mother Sati, she gave up her body. And that time, out of anger, Lord Shiva, he creates Veerbhadra out of his bone body. And when this Veerbhadra, he was coming towards the sacrifice of Daksha, that time also he observes these bad omens, Daksha. And in Mahabharata, when Duryodhana, he took birth, that time many bad omens were observed of this asses braying, and many different bad omens were observed. And Krishna also uses these bad omens to perform his pastimes or to increase the excitement of his pastimes. He uses these bad omens. Like when Kamsa, he was driving the chariot of Devaki and Vasudeva, that time, to accelerate the descent of Lord Krishna, demigods, they arranges this omen or unseen voice in the sky who proclaims that the 8th child of this Devaki will be the cause of your death to Kamsa. And that time, Kamsa was very much fearful. And then in this Shamantaka Jewel episode, also these bad omens were observed. That when Akrura was missing and he had gone to Kasi, that time also these bad omens were observed. And how he was brought back, Akrura, to Dwarka. And then about this Maushala Leela, before that Leela, the disappearance of Yadus, also these bad omens were observed. That time Krishna himself says, now we have to perform some yajna, we'll go to Prabhas Kshetra, we'll perform this yajna. That's how we can get rid of this. And then this famous pastime of Kaliya, Krishna punishing Kaliya. That day, Balramji's birthday was there and he was in home only. But Krishna, he alone went. And that time when he was captured in the coil of Kaliya, that time also these bad omens were observed. And just to intensify their love of Vrajvasis, love of Mother Yashoda, Devaki, and other Vrajvasis, those bad omens were utilized by Krishna to increase their love and to bring them to the Yamuna river. So this is about the bad omens used by Krishna to enhance the pastimes. Now, somebody may say that this omens or observation of omens and subsequently concluding that something bad or good is going to come. Someone may object, someone may say, oh, this is superstition. But actually, this is not superstition, this is science actually. Just like we have this weather forecasting. So what they do, they predict in advance based on some, we can say, science, so-called science. Sometimes it is, many times it is false also, the predictions. But this science is not like that. This is actual science given by the Lord. So the point here is, it is not superstition, but they are indicators of future. And interestingly, Srila Prabhupada also believed this very strongly, and Harishauri mentions about this in his Transcendental Diary, that many times Prabhupada used to avoid traveling on Thursday. But when some important Krishna conscious engagement is there, some important thing is there, Prabhupada just avoided it. And that has been always the mood of Prabhupada. He never overemphasized anything. He balanced always. So, this is very interesting. So similarly, actually, when we are living our life, and just like when we are traveling on road, we see some indicators. Especially we see many times speed breakers. So when we see the sign, what we do? We reduce our speed, or we control our speed. And when that speed breaker goes by or passes by, then we again increase our speed. So similarly, when we are living our life, these even if these bad omens are observed or indicating something, then we cannot stop, or we should not stop our normal course of activities, but we can be careful like that. So, now for devotees, how these omens, they are relevant, or how we can take them. So bad omens, they usually indicate about the bad future. And for a devotee, practicing devotee, what is the inauspicious or bad thing? This very famous verse is there. Anukullesa sankalpo pratikullesa varjanam. So for a devotee, what is favorable for Krishna consciousness? That is auspicious. And what is unfavorable, what is pratikul, is inauspicious. So for a devotee, a sadhaka, this is important. That whatever is anukul for my bhakti, that is auspicious. And what is pratikul is inauspicious. What is pratikul for my bhakti. And this should be our, we can say, this should be our guiding factor. Always. What is anukul for my advancement, for practice of bhakti, and what is pratikul for my practice of bhakti. And specifically, association of devotees is the greatest auspicious thing for a devotee. And in that association, one can advance and make progress in bhakti. So, whatever is favorable for us to remain in the association, and even in and not just remain, but how we can utilize that association, that auspiciousness, to even increase it more. That is very important. And many places in Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, the guidelines are given as to how we can maximize this auspiciousness, the association, through the association of devotees. And in 10th chapter, this verse from Bhagavad Gita, Krishna, he specifies how we can effectively utilize that, maximize that auspiciousness. He says, Mat chitta madagata prana bodhayanta parasparam kathayantascha maam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. So when we come to the association, or when we are in the association of devotees, and how are those devotees? These devotees, their mat chitta, their prana is Krishna, and their chitta, in their mind, heart, Krishna is residing. They are always thinking. And when they come together, they bodhayanta, they enlighten each other. And they take pleasure. Tushyanti cha ramanti cha. They derive great satisfaction in bodhayanta, in enlightening each other about Krishna and Krishna consciousness. So this is very important. Actually, now in this verse, Yudhishthir Maharaj, so we'll try to understand how Yudhishthir Maharaj took these signs, these bad omens. So he took it spiritually, actually. So we also have to follow the Yudhishthir Maharaj. So what he did actually, when he came to know that about the descent of, basically the omens, they are observed due to disappearance of Lord Krishna. So what he did, and even other Pandavas, they followed. He gave up his kingdom to Parikshit Maharaj, King Parikshit, and he went to Himalayas for bhajan, for Krishna consciousness, to perfect his life. So he took these omens spiritually, and he utilized them for the advancement of Krishna consciousness. And so interestingly, when Krishna, he disappeared, actually in Bhagavatam it is mentioned that when Krishna disappeared, he appeared in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam, actually. So when Krishna disappeared from the vision of material world, he appeared in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam. He appeared in the form of sound incarnation. So we say two types of association. One is Vapu, one is Vani. So Krishna appeared through his instructions in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam. So it is very interesting. So for Kali Yuga people, Krishna is still there. And I was hearing one devotee, he was mentioning about the appearance and disappearance. So when usually Lord or devotees, when they appear, this may not be very relevant to the discussion, but just came to my mind, that when devotees they appear and give instructions. But when Krishna's devotees or acharyas, they disappear, they intensify, they increase the love. And that way a disciple can go more closer to acharya or guru. So here Krishna, he disappeared but appeared in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam. And Vyasadeva also, when he came to know about the descent, about the arrival of Kali Yuga, he also compiled the Srimad Bhagavatam. So earlier he had he had written down, because he came to know that Kali Yuga is appearing, and in Kali Yuga कलेर दोष निधे राजन अस्ति एको महान गुना कीर्तनादेव कृष्णस्य mukta sangha param rajat. So Kali Yuga is full of bad qualities and people, they will not be very intelligent. Prayana alpa isha sabhya kalavasmin yuge jana manda sumanda matayo manda bhagya he upadrita. So he, knowing these qualities of Kali Yuga people or Kali Yuga, he written down the scriptures and specifically he revised Bhagavatam also on the instruction of Narad. Because he did not feel satisfied, and when Narada instructed, he told him that you have not sufficiently, exclusively, repeatedly glorified the Supreme Lord, so you do that through this Srimad Bhagavatam. So earlier he had composed in brief, but then he revised. So that is mentioned in Bhagavatam. So we also have this opportunity to take help of Krishna in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam, and this verse is also there in Bhagavatam. Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktirbhavati. No, not this verse. Nasta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktirbhavati Naistiki. So Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya. What is that? Nasta prayeshu abhadreshu. So this abhadra, it is inauspiciousness. So basic inauspiciousness for a jiva is to forget his natural constitutional position of servant of Krishna. So that is the root cause of all inauspiciousness. And how that we can get rid of that is by regularly hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, by regularly applying the instructions, not just hearing. Hearing is to apply, actually. And that is the solution to all the inauspiciousness. And, okay, so Krishna, he appeared in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam, and we can take help and perfect and get rid of this inauspiciousness for once and all. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also appeared actually 500 years ago, and he gave this very easy process to perfect our life. He appeared actually. And specifically in Kali Yuga, Lord, he appears in a team, in the team of 5 actually. One devotee was mentioning, I heard this in lecture, that in other ages, Lord appears alone, it is easy. But in Kali Yuga, it is always a team effort to preach, to bring back conditioned souls to the shelter of Krishna. It is not one person's job. Just like you may have seen in villages, if they have to administer some medicine to animals, specifically to ox or horse, then many people are involved. Somebody is catching the leg, somebody is holding neck portion, somebody is putting medicine. So it is always a team effort. It is not one person's job actually to preach. And for that, we also need to cooperate each other actually. So Lord, he appears and he gives very easy process. So usually everybody is, again this, usually everybody is very interested in, if we say in Hindi, it makes little more sense. Khana, Gana, Khana and Nachna. Ye 3 things. So everybody is interested and nobody can deny that actually. So Lord Krishna, he appeared at Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and he gave this very easy process of, he spiritualized actually this tendency, tendency of jiva. He gave the process of chanting his gana, then dancing, nachna, and feasting, khana. And actually it cannot be more easier than this. So we have to take full advantage of this and get rid and perfect our life, get rid of inauspiciousness. And Srila Prabhupada actually he made this process even more simpler. Actually, just now we have celebrated disappearance day of Prabhupada. Actually, Prabhupada is such an acharya who is very, very special, very compassionate actually. When Prabhupada went at the age of 70, actually it is beyond imagination. He was 70 and he met people, or he was preaching to people who were not at all cultured, they were not having good sanskar, just like even in India we have. But they were all uncultured, and so much gap was there. We say generation gap, we can say. They were all almost all of them, they were teenager. And I think Kirtananand Maharaj, he was highest 28 or 25 plus. Otherwise, everybody was youngster. Just like Jayapataka Maharaj, he took sannyas at the age of 21. So before that, they came. And all of them, they were very young. And Prabhupada, he trained them, he gave them instruction, and he tolerated very much actually. And he was cooking for them. A 70 years person, he is cooking. Not just cooking, he is washing also plates. Now, actually who can do that? Now we have experience of preaching, of going to a hostel. When that boy, he comes to our place, then we expect him to do. We just indicate, oh, plate is there, you can take. Oh, this basin is there, you can wash. But do we have that humility to wash, to cook? And Prabhupada was doing it for almost 6 months. And he was with that attitude, whatever it takes me to make other person Krishna consciousness, I will do that. And that is the real mood of servant. And always, many times, Prabhupada said that. Actually, I am not, one time a reporter asked him, Srila Prabhupada, so are you their guru? Prabhupada said, no, I am their servant. And actually, Prabhupada meant that. Many times we may say, oh, I am servant, but we are master in the guise of servant. We say we are servant, but we are master actually. And everybody is in that situation. We have to accept it humbly and we have to work. So Prabhupada, the point here is, Prabhupada is very special personality, and he has worked so much hard to create this temples, to create this ISKCON organization. And we have to take full advantage of this and get rid of inauspiciousness. And now Prabhupada also expects from us that we also help him, Prabhupada, in his mission to eradicate this inauspicious qualities of Kali Yuga, inauspiciousness of Jiva, by taking them back to Godhead. So we also have this responsibility that we have got this. Now we stay in the temple, we are devotees. So it is our responsibility to give others a good experience, to give others Vaikuntha experience actually. Many times we are worried about our own happiness, own distress. And in that consciousness we don't care about others' experience. We think, oh, I need comfortable situation, place, interaction. I don't care about others. And that way, we lose mercy actually. So this tolerance is very important when we are practicing bhakti. And it is very often very difficult to tolerate actually. But if we tolerate, that tolerance can give others a good experience. So devotees, in the association of devotees is very purifying actually. Purifying in positive sense. But we should not give bad experience. We should not give experience otherwise to people around, devotees around. So this is very important. And if we, along with tolerance, if we respect every devotee, the way Krishna treats them, actually Krishna, he says actually devotees, they are my heart, they reside in my heart. So he very carefully makes sure that they are properly taken care, they are respected. And even in Bhagavad Gita he says, what is that verse? Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha, how it starts? Bahunam janmanam ante. Bahunam janmanam ante jnanvan mam prapadyate vasudevam sarvaiti vasudeva sarvamiti sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. So, a devotee, and this was mentioned by Sivaram Prabhu also, he also was mentioning about devotee, how great they are in his lecture. So, Krishna says, Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. So, every devotee who comes to temple, he is not ordinary person. After many lifetimes, Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanvan Mam Prapadyate. So, after many lifetimes, this devotee, he has surrendered to Krishna. And such devotee, he Krishna mentions him Mahatma. So, every devotee coming to the shelter, one who is chanting, following these 4 regulative principles, he is Mahatma. So, we have to treat them, at least theoretically, try to remind, we will fail repeatedly, miserably, but this is process. We have to understand their stature of a devotee, each devotee, and we have to give them due respect. And with that mood, if we practice this sadhana bhakti, then gradually we can advance very swiftly actually. Gradually, swiftly we can advance. And that way, we can become the agents of the mission of Prabhupada, the mission of Acharyas, and we can remove this inauspiciousness altogether. So, we'll stop here. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Anant Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna. If you have any questions, Prabhuji, you can ask Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.